cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut. Welcome to the top cut.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. I am Sunny. I am your host. I'm here with my co-host, Caleb.
Hello!
And of course, before we get too far in, we want to thank our patrons for supporting the podcast. So a huge thank you to Cam Yang, Austin Johnson, Kane Martin, Gate Guardian Support, HGH Cyber, Josh Rosen, Marshawn Jones, Zyphorus, Yeet the Feet, Zephyrus, AD, Anthony Lila, Blackwing, Floodgate, Armor Master, Branded Fart, Dank Nugs, Earth Machine, Best Deck. I am McLincoln. If Caleb doesn't play Mine Dino, I will eat a UCT.
Sorry, dude. Looks like on the UCT because I refuse to play Mystic Mine.
I think you're just like... I think you just really want to eat it. I think you just want to eat the cardboard at that point. Because you're not really punishing Caleb. You're rewarding him by making this happen to you.
Keep in mind, if you just said Dino, that's different. It's specifically I refuse to play Mystic Mine. I refuse to devolve into that kind of degeneracy.
I will. I'm sorry, Caleb, but we tortured Sunny with our names so much I thought it was only fair if we included you.
You are forgiven, my son.
Mountain Man, Oatmeal Spaghetti, Owen Alvarado, Pig, Rudolph, Tierlement, Sprite, wake up, bro, we gotta leave for Edison. The Hoover Dam is a floodgate, unbanned number 95. Konami, understanding and reading are two different things. Virtually Savior's World, Zingas Khan, Aaron Gardner, Asami, Demolition Beaver, the Floodgate Destroyer, Dragon Maidenless Behavior, Nordic Best Deck, Old Man Red, Pin Code 143, Praise be to Mystic Mine, our Lord and Savior, Protect Caleb at all costs, Ray Powell, Shockmaster did nothing wrong, slaking it up, and wait, what? There's no way I can legally say that. Thank you all so much for your continued support of the podcast. And of course, we also want to take just a moment to go ahead and talk about some sponsory things. So if you want to support the podcast and you don't really want to get the Patreon because you don't really want the monthly recurring thing, good news, there's some awesome ways to still support us and keep this project on its feet. You can check out our TCG Player and Dragon Shield affiliate links in the description down below. All you have to do is click the link before you shop and then just shop like you would normally. Go ahead, add things to your cart, go ahead and buy them. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but we get a little bit of a kickback, about 3% of your purchase, which it isn't much, but it does add up and it does help out significantly. So go ahead and check out our TCG Player and Dragon Shield affiliate links if you're looking for some new sleeves, binders, deck boxes, and things like that, or maybe those new cards to round out your new Tierlement or Sprite deck. So just go ahead and click it, shop, and we appreciate it. And also, of course, we want to shout out Millennium Threads. They're an Etsy shop and they deal with Yu-Gi-Oh! Apparel, things like hoodies, things like patches that you can sew onto or iron onto different things. And they're all custom embroidered. They are cool as hell, and I absolutely recommend that you check them out. They just did a really cool Gear Giano design for Distant Coder. Definitely worth checking out. If you're on Apple or Spotify, be sure to leave a like or a review. It helps us out tremendously if you are enjoying the show. And of course, if you are on YouTube, be sure to drop a like, a follow, a subscribe, whatever you want to do. It just helps us out. And leave a comment below. Let us know what you think about the things that we talk about. So, I want to talk about what we're going to actually do today because we're doing a lot of different things. So, we're going to start by, we're going to bring back Cope or Cracked.
Oh, yeah!
So, this was a segment that a lot of people liked where we go through, we talk about some different tech cards in the format and discuss whether or not we think that they are actually good cards in general.
Or people are just eating lots of raw copium.
Exactly. So those cards will either be copium or they will be cracked. Then a little bit later on, we have another segment. This is a brand new segment that we are very excited to show off. So be sure to stick around until a little later on the episode so you can see the new segment. And then we'll close it up with some mailbag questions. So let's go ahead and get started on Cope or Cracked. I would love to talk about a very new card that we really haven't had a lot of discussion on, well, I guess there's been a lot of discussion, but I haven't really seen it brought up as a major meta card to answer certain decks. So let's talk about Ultimate Slayer.
Ooh, good old Ultimate Slayer. So for those of you who do not know, Ultimate Slayer is a new card. It's a secret that came out of the most recent set, Power of the Elements. It's a normal spell card. I believe it's when your opponent controls like Fusion, Exceed, or Synchro, or Link, you send...
Or Pendulum.
You send that type of card from your extra deck to the graveyard to bounce it, I believe?
Spin it.
To spin it. Even
well, I guess in this case it's
the same thing, yeah. For extra deck monsters, bouncing and spinning are the exact same thing. That is neither here nor there. Overall...
You missed the best part about the card.
Yeah, it can't be responded to by monster effects.
Right, so it's got kind of a Dark Roller protection there.
Yeah. In addition, but then of course after that you'd also get off if the monster you send has any send effects, like the new what was it called? Garura, the new Garura Fusion monster.
Right.
Yeah, you send it, draw a card.
Or if you can send Intis to pop a card.
Yeah.
If you're playing against Lynx, you can send Trouble Sunny, I believe, lets you draw one and pop one.
Yeah, or you could even funny. You could also send crap, what's the name of that card? I've just drawn a blank. It's gone.
That's rough.
Yeah, it happens. Long story short, for like all four of those types, there are valid, very good targets that get effects off when they're sent to the graveyard.
Right.
So,
personally, what's funny is I think that most of the time this card will be cope. I think this card reminds me a lot of other cards that seem good on the surface but ended up not really being played for one reason or another.
That seemed good on paper.
Right.
Like Crossout Designator.
Yeah, for sure. Or Triple Tactics Talent. Talent seems like the craziest card in the game on paper, and in reality it's just kind of mid.
It can't be.
I'll put Ultimate Slayer down as cope if I'm being completely honest.
I mean, the card's raw effect
is crazy.
It's crazy, but I think its actual utilization will be cope, mostly because it's not a quick play, and there's also a lot of spell trap negates going around.
Right.
Non-monster spell trap negates, I should specify.
Yeah. So you're landing in cope?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but just over that line.
Right. Very close. All right. Our next card that we are going to talk about is Offerings to the Doomed.
Okay. So, Offerings to the Doomed is you pop a monster on the field, and you skip your next battle phase. You skip your next draw phase.
Right.
Quick play spell. I think that this card, in every situation except exactly one right now, is cope.
Okay.
If you're a Sky Striker player, it's cracked.
So explain to me why it's really good in exactly Sky Striker.
Okay, so in exactly Sky Striker, because first off, let's just get the one of the cool things out of the way immediately. It's a spell, so it's just whatever. Secondly,
it counts towards your 3 spells engraved.
Correct. So secondly, on the if you're going first, you can activate Mystic Mine, set, do whatever you want to do, set and pass. If your opponent has set it and pass, if your opponent has access to the adventure package, as soon as that token is filled, pop the token.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And they can't Drago back your Mystic Mine.
Right, because it's a quick play.
Exactly. So then, that protects you that way, and it also prevents it can also prevent them from getting the Griffin Rider out on top of that.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty critical.
Oh yeah. And then of course, you lose your draw phase, but does Striker really care about one draw?
Honestly, not really when you have your Kagaris to cycle back your spells and Engages to get you a draw plus a search.
Exactly. So if you're not Striker, it's cope. If you are Striker, it's cracked.
Which is such a hilarious distinction.
And what's even funnier is I remember watching a video yesterday on specifically Offerings to the Doomed.
Right.
And this is the second time it's had meta relevance for like a completely different reason than it had before, and I don't remember what the meta relevance was back then.
That's such a shame because I would love to know exactly why that card was good before.
Yeah.
Okay. Next we have Foolish Return.
I think it's Cope.
So Foolish Return is a quick play spell card that allows you to take one card in your opponent's graveyard and shuffle it back into the deck. So Foolish Return is an interesting card. It first saw a rise in meta play when Hani Jahari, previous guest of the podcast, Hani Jahari.
Super cool dude. Go watch his stuff.
Absolutely. Or go get him as a coach on Metafy because he doesn't really put out content.
Fair enough.
So Hani was playing top 8 at YCS. What YCS was that?
I want to say that was the one that we went to.
No, we went to Charlotte. That was
No, yeah, it wasn't
Hartford,
Charlotte.
Connecticut.
It was, yeah. It was, I think it was like the next one.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So he's at YCS Hartford in a top 16, top 32, top 8 match, something like that. It was in Top Cut. And as he goes up to... As he's playing as this Eldritch player, he flips Foolish Return. And it was the crazy tech card. It was the goo. It was the spice.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was a lot more interesting of a card. Because at that time, Despia was the number 1 deck in the format.
Yeah, and so what would happen is that if you were to... They would activate, what was the spell?
Branded in red.
It wasn't branded in red. It was, I think it was branded Fusion, maybe? But it wasn't branded in red. The reason why is because one of their fusion spells can fuse from your graveyard or banished. So if you crow it, they can still fuse. Because it shuffles it back to the deck.
Lubellion.
Thank you. It was a specific counter card versus Lubellion that could also function as a crow against the branded in red. So it could pull double duty.
Right.
Because if they activate Lubellion and you crow it, they just kind of shrug and go, cool, whatever, shuffle it back anyway.
Right. It's either Lubellion or Albion.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one. I get all their names mixed up.
Yeah.
It's one of the fusion dragons.
Yeah, long story short, one of the fusion dragons lets them shuffle back monster from the graveyard or banish zone to fuse. It stops that. Because you get rid of one of the major materials by shuffling back in the deck where it's stuck and they can't fuse.
It also gets rid of cool problem cards like Crow, like Snow, rather. I was like Grummett Snow.
Yeah, Fairy Tale Snow. And then, of course, against Eldritch specifically, you can send back the Golden Lords or you can send back the traps before they have a chance in response to their... Well, before they have a chance to activate, because I think they banish this cost.
They do banish this cost, but that was one of the things that he was able to do in that match was hit, actually, I think it was a Conquistador out of the graveyard before they could set the Scarlet Sanguine. So,
which is hilarious.
Yeah, it was a heck of a move.
Yeah. DD Crow, however, outside of exactly Lubellion, is just better in every way.
Yeah. I like DD Crow more, personally.
Yeah.
But Foolish Return is a cool card.
Yeah.
But I'll say Cope.
I also say Cope.
Alright, next we have Stygian Durge.
Ooh. Okay, so for those of you who do not know, Stygian Durge is a continuous trap card.
And we'll actually throw in Mischief for the Gnomes in here as well. It's the same...
They're similar.
Same concept.
Okay, so Stygian Durge, continuous trap card. As long as face them on the field, monsters on the field have their levels reduced by 1.
I think it's field and hand.
It's just field.
Okay.
Mischief for the Gnomes, however, is a normal spell trap card that upon activation reduces the level of all your opponent's monsters in their hand by 1. The level reduction stays even if they summon it. And then you can also banish it from your graveyard to do the exact same thing a second time. But you cannot activate both effects in the same turn.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the whole point behind this card is actually specifically against Sprite. And that if you flip either one of these cards, they cannot function anymore because they can't put a level 2 on board to start special summoning the sprites out of their hand, and they can't make gigantic. In my personal opinion, Stygian Durge is actually probably Cope, but I think Mischief is cracked.
I would agree with that. I think Mischief is a better card. Durge has the issue of being like a continuous spell. It can kind of...
Continuous trap.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of hurts your own deck. It's slow.
It can. It really depends on your individual deck.
Right.
But like the biggest issue is with the Stygian Durge. If your opponent Twin Twisters or Harpy Feather Dusters or outs it,
Right.
it's outed.
Yep.
But with the Mischief of the Gnomes, you just shotgun it, and your opponent can't do anything about it unless they have a red reboot in hand. That's literally all they can do to stop it. And then of course, they kind of have to hard pass, probably depending upon what they have in their hand, unless they have exactly starter. And then then come back to your turn. If you're not able to kill them and pass, banish it. They have to go through that again.
Yeah, for sure. So, I am going to hop on Twitter real quick because we also got some pretty nifty replies on our Twitter page when we went on our Twitter page that you should be following.
And asked for more cope or cracked. Well, we still have one more on that list before the Twitter.
Sure, why don't we go ahead and cover it?
Yeah, and the band played on.
I think this pretty similarly plays into Stygian Durge and Mischief of the Gnomes.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, so it's a continuous trap where as long as it's face up on the field, neither player can control two monsters at the same level.
That sucks so much for Sword Soul.
Oh yeah, it sucks so much for a lot of decks actually. So there's not a whole lot of decks that can actively run it properly. I think the only deck that can actually run it and not care about it is probably Tear Lament. Marincess can kind of play around it, but it locks them out of Bahamut Shark and Stealth Kraken.
Yes.
And then they also can't ever have 2 level 4s on board at the same time, but they can play around not doing that.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I think and the band played on is also cope because it falls to the exact same issues that Stygian Durge does, where if your opponent has a Twin Twister, a Cosmic Cyclone, or a Harpy's Feather Duster, that's it, it's gone.
Right. All right, so let's start off with a question from Twitter. So here's one that they never see mentioned, which is Access Code Talker.
Ooh.
How do you feel about that card headed into the format?
So the thing about access code, in my opinion, it really depends on your actual deck.
Yes, that's fair.
Because some decks can hit access code like it's like it's their job. Mathematic. I'm looking at you, Mathematic.
Tri Brigade was that way.
Tri Brigade was that way. Ad Ignisters can do it real easily.
Right.
Code Talkers can do it real easily. Salamangreat can also do it very easily. But then you have other decks which should, in theory, be able to do it, but can't, like Marincess. Splight can do it, but they'd much rather just make an Appaloosa and kill you slowly.
Yeah.
Just as a couple of examples there. Don't get me wrong, the card is ridiculous. But considering the 2 main decks of the format, I'm going to say that right now Access Code is actually cope.
That's so interesting because for the longest time, Access Code was just the best boss monster in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he went from being best boss monster in the game to cope.
It's entirely due to just because right now we're about to go into a format where the 2 best decks in the room are going to be Sprite into a much lesser extent Tear Lament. Neither one of them care.
Yes.
Literally neither one of them care about access code. They don't care about making it. They don't care if you make it.
That's fair, but access code is just so strong in certain decks especially.
Yeah. So like if your deck can pump out the access code, do it. Especially if you can do something stupid like pump out the Arrival Ad Ignister and then use the Arrival Ad Ignister to make the access code to make him beefy.
8300.
Yep.
That's beefy.
Plus I think Ad Ignister is probably the only deck that can access all 6 pops.
Probably, yes.
Because it gets 1 pop per attribute.
Okay. So, let's go ahead and let's take just a moment to, I know it's really early into the video.
Yeah, let's go ahead and knock it out of the way real quick.
Right, so let's thank our sponsor, E2B Games. So a huge thank you to E2B Games in Alexandria, Louisiana for sponsoring this podcast and helping us out and helping make our dreams come true. This is awesome. We love doing this. So, E2B Games is your one-stop shop for all of your card game needs, such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Digimon, etc. They have all of your singles and sealed products. as well as all of your sleeves, deck boxes, binders, playmats, etc. And they also have everything that you need for your tabletop gaming needs, such as figurines, paint for the figurines, the books, and all of the things that you need, and many, many more.
As a matter of fact, I think 3 months ago, I was actually able to pick up a Lilithmon, specifically the BT3-091 Lilithmon, as a field center for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I love Lilithmon. She's one of my favorites.
That's fair.
Right up there with Beelzemon and Gallantmon.
That's fair.
Or Dukemon if you're a purist.
So, if you're interested in E2B Games, check them out. Their link is in the description down below. So, let's go ahead and get on into something that is probably going to be pretty funny if I had to guess. So we're doing a Reddit review. So essentially, for those that don't know, how this works is we will scroll through a particular subreddit, in this case r/Yu-Gi-Oh!
It'll always be Yu-Gi-Oh! Themed, I promise.
And take one of the decks that is in that post, or one of the questions about a deck sometimes that is in that post, and we're going to go ahead and try to answer their questions and things like that. So, or
even just comment on what they're talking about.
Right. So, and this person asks, this is Atheist of Gallifrey, asks, why 2-player mats? So many people in the community enjoy 2-player cloth mats, and I just don't get it. Cloth over rubber is its own debate, and both have merit. But why would people go out of their way for the larger 2-player mats? It's even more weird when you think about it, because 99% of the time it's folded in half anyways, making it no better than a normal 1-player mat. But going further, those times I have seen a 2-player mat all the way open, there's a giant ridge in the middle because it doesn't get open very often. Sure, in the old days of the game, it was more common because spellgrounds had been around in Magic for ages and 1-player mats were rare. But that's hardly the case anymore. And what's going on, Somebody explain it to me. I just don't get it. So, the thing about the 2-player mats is, one, let's be really honest here, it's a little bit of a clout thing. People want to flex their nice, expensive, oversized playmats. Mm-hmm. My thing personally is that I like my mat being a little larger. I don't fold it directly in half. I fold it off center.
Yeah, it's probably more like 65%.
Yes.
Something like that.
So I would say that a lot of people just like them because it gives them a little bit more space. They feel like it does anyway. And it's just what they want.
I personally don't own a 2-player mat, but if I did, it would something that I would probably have at home, just on my table.
I mean, that's totally fair.
Because then, if my friends come over to play Magic or whatever, they don't need to bring a mat, just their cards. Yep. One less thing my friends got to bring to come over.
Love to hear that. What are some underrated or forgotten boss monsters that deserve some love? Ooh. Such a great question.
That's a really good one. Okay, so boss monsters would... If they mean boss monsters and things that you would end on, like you go through your combo line, and that was the payoff.
Right.
There's a lot of good ones. There's also a lot of really bad ones.
Oh, yeah. There's some terrible boss monsters.
Like,
honestly, do you remember all of the elemental lords?
Yeah, those weren't even boss monsters. Those were combo pieces at the time.
At one point, they kind of became combo pieces, yeah.
Yeah. But they were meant to be boss monsters.
Right.
And then later, they actually made a deck where they were the boss monster.
Element Sabers.
Yeah, the Element Sabers, which was cool. It's a really cool deck. I played it on Master Duel. Cool deck. That's beside the point. As far as actual boss monsters, I would probably say the most underutilized that's still good. At the I don't really know. Do you have any that you can think of right off the top of your head?
Just forgotten boss monsters. I think Geargeek X is a great candidate.
Well, he's not really a boss monster. He's more of a combo piece.
He was intended to be the boss monster for that archetype.
Yeah, but he became a combo piece.
I guess.
I mean, Zen Meister was supposed to also be the boss monster for windups. Never got used.
Right.
Zenmayo did. He became the new boss monster.
Okay, so next.
Didn't even really answer that one, but whatever.
Well, I mean,
If I had to say a specific monster, I would probably say...
I said Gigan X.
Yeah. You said Gigan X.
Gate Guardian.
Medulla Queen Tiramisu.
I was just about to say that, but I didn't want to steal your thunder.
Yeah, because she's she's arguably the best rank 4 in the game.
One of them.
Yeah, unarguably one of the best, arguably the best. But she can only be made in exactly one deck, and she's not only a boss monster, she's also a OTK combo piece.
Right.
Which is hilarious.
Next question. How do you sleeve your main deck? Do you do inner sleeves plus Japanese size outers? Do you do Japanese size sleeves plus full size outers? Or do you do Japanese size sleeves with no outers or inners?
At the moment, I personally am doing just Japanese size, and that's it.
Gotcha.
In the past, I've done the inner sleeves and the outer sleeve. I really enjoy doing the Japanese size sleeve and a Japanese size oversleeve because they sell those now.
Yeah.
Now that Yu-Gi-Oh has legalized double sleeving.
Right.
But I'm just it just made the deck way too bulky. So I was I just rather just have single sleeve myself.
I mean, that's perfectly reasonable to me.
What about you?
So I sleeve my main deck in Dragon Shield single sleeves, and I do my extra deck specifically in double sleeves. And
To be fair, you have 2 Starlights in there?
no, 1 Starlight, but I've got a lot of ultis.
Yeah.
Yeah, my extra deck for Sword Soul is almost maxed.
Yeah. So he kind of needs the double sleeving. Compared to me, where the highest rarity thing I have in my extra deck is the Secret Kragan, Secret Toad. Everything else is Ultra and below.
Yeah. What's an archetype you think you could comfortably run pure? So no side engines or anything like that.
No. Okay, does that include extra deck, extra deck monsters that aren't boss monsters?
What do you mean, does it include it?
Because main deck wise, you can run Marincess completely pure.
So
I'm running an extra, I personally am running an extra engine with the Silent Sea Nettles. Some people are running Sharks and Silent Anglers.
Right.
As just kind of a tertiary engine. You don't need them. I've had games where I've sided out the Silent Sea Nettles. But the thing that, and then, you've seen me go through my combo lines where it's just Marincess after Marincess after Marincess, another one. All of a sudden I'll make a Shark and then Toad, or I'll just make Stealth Kragan. Besides, I only run 5 in my extra. I only run 5 monsters that aren't Marincess, and that's Splash Mage and Area, who are just extenders if I run out of Marincesses. Bahamut Shark and Totally Awesome because that's totally awesome, and Stealth Kragan because he's awesome.
Right.
Other than that, it's all Marincesses.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so.
And then I think you can probably get away with it in Salad.
That was the other deck that I was thinking about with Salad.
But they really like running Flame Buffalo and Lady Debug.
Honestly, I don't even think the current builds are running those.
Yeah. And even then, that's not even really a tertiary engine. It's just extra generic Cyberse extenders.
Right. Okay. Spiral was a deck with lots of good components that didn't quite gel, but then Double Helix came out and shot the deck to the top of the meta. What other strategy is one good card away from being a contender? Now this is a tough question.
Yeah, because you kind of have to design the card that individual decks would need. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think, me just kind of thinking about it, just of the decks I've played. I mean, you also gotta remember that the past 3 decks I've played that were meta relevant was Bird Up into Phantom Knights into Dino into Marincess, with some Dolce in the middle there somewhere.
Right.
like when I didn't have anything else in between decks. Like Medulla could use like another extender.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that would be very, very cool.
Like literally, all they need is a Medulla level 4 whose effect is if you control an Earth monster, you can splash summon this card.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you control a Medulla, splash summon this card. Something like that.
I also think that I know that Fluffle is already a good deck, but I think Fluffle could also be considered like one card away from being like a top tier deck.
Definitely.
I always go back to decks that would do well with a Link 1 in the deck, similar to what happened with Prank Kids.
That's fair.
So if I see a deck that could potentially have a Link 1, I'm just kind of looking at it like, interesting.
Oh yeah, Medulla is definitely one of those decks that really wouldn't utilize Link 1, but they would like a special something, because they're an Xyz spam deck. Yes, they have a Link monster, but it's board protection.
Yeah. All right. Our next question. What is the greatest spell card in Yu-Gi-Oh's history?
This single greatest in a vacuum with nothing else around it?
Right, or the one that accomplished the most, or the one that's the most famous even.
Okay, so I have two that immediately come to mind.
Okay, I'm here for it.
Okay, one of them is Super Rejuvenation.
That is a good card.
Because back in Dragon Roller format, you would activate Super Rejuvenation, and then during your end phase, draw like half your deck.
Yeah, I think you could literally draw like 7 or 8 cards a lot of the times.
Yeah, and then the other one was the Spellbook.
Spellbook of Judgment.
That's it, yeah. Where it's like you activate this, then for every single spell card you activate this turn, you search for another Spellbook spell card.
Right. And it surprised me that you didn't say Pot of Greed.
Yeah, but it's only a +1.
Fair. What about Graceful Charity?
It's only a 1-for-1.
But it's, I mean, come on.
Now this is, in a vacuum, those two are easily two of the best cards in the entire game. In a vacuum.
Right.
Outside of a vacuum, it's only a +1. I would much rather just activate Super Rejuve throughout my normal stuff and draw like 8.
Right, exactly.
And go +7 off of that card.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. Oh, Soul Charge.
Same. Actually, that's just a good card in a vacuum.
I mean, that's why it's banned, yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah. All right. The next question is, can someone recommend a good but also fun deck? Yeah, I think that there's several that we could recommend. I think that we've already talked about Medulla is pretty solid. I think that Fluffle is something that we recommended.
Yeah, both are fun. I've really been having a blast with Princess, actually.
Right. Yeah, Princess is also very good. And all of those decks are fairly budget friendly, if I'm not mistaken.
Not Medulla. It is not budget friendly.
That man said, not Medulla.
No, because Slans, last time I looked, were like 15 a piece.
Oh, jeez.
And the common tiramisus are like 30.
No.
Last time I looked.
The commons?
Yes, because listen, it had the Ultra and Ulti print, a gold rare print, and then the common printing, and that's it.
That's insane.
Yeah, Queen tiramisus are very expensive because they're not exactly common to find.
Just the idea of, okay, well, they've gone down a lot. They're like, $6-7 for the common.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Where were those when I was building Medulla?
Yeah, I remember when you were building Medulla and you were looking for them, and they were like, at least $10 for the commons.
Yeah, no, they capped out at like 30 for a while, and I was like, I've got my playset, I'm good.
Right. I could also a really fun deck that's honestly not bad. It's been power crept a little, but it's a fun deck, and it's I'll say it again, not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend Plunder Patrol, and if you afford it, Plunder Patrol Adventure.
It's a little 5-headed, but
it can be at time. Yeah.
Dino is also really fun. The only expensive card in Dino is... No, you're not expensive anymore. You're not expensive anymore.
Prosperity. That's literally it. And you don't
Yeah.
have to run Prosperity.
Yeah, you can run Extravagances, which are like $5.
Right.
And then the only expensive card in Marincess is exactly totally awesome.
Right.
And then, of course, in recent developments, some of the other Marincess cards have also spiked in price. I'm talking like double in price, but I'm talking like 50 cents to $1.
Right.
$2 to $4.
Definitely. So, why are decks playing Charmers?
Depends on the deck and the Charmer. A lot of decks are running Charmers for different reasons.
Right. So, specifically, they're talking about, they mentioned the Marincess playing a Charmer over something like Access Code. You might be well more equipped to handle this one. Oh, wow, you are really carrying this episode.
I know. Okay, actually, I've ran 2 decks that ran Charmers. Because Medulla also runs an Osawa.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so one of the main reasons you would run a Charmer is actually specifically, it's not the main reason, but it's a really good one, is actually specifically because of Contact C.
Okay.
So let's say in Marincess, a normal summon Blue Tang activate effect, chain Contact C.
Okay.
Which means I must now commit to a Link summon using the Contact C.
Right.
All my normal links demand that I have to use Waters or Marincesses.
Interesting.
So in that situation with specifically Blue Tang, I can then go, cool, link to an area, and I still get off my Blue Tang search.
Right.
Well, my Blue Tang's potted duality effect.
Right.
Yeah, it puts me back and I can't return to my hand or anything, and it's not great, but it gets the job done.
Yes.
And then in specifically Medulla, if you know your opponent's playing Medulla, if you see your opponent go normal summon Medulla Magdalene and you're thinking of Contact seeing them, don't do it. Just don't.
Right, because then it can just immediately go into Asa.
Yeah, because then they'll make Osawa, effective Osawa, steal the Contact seed back, and then go into a rank 3.
Right.
For free.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's great. But then there are other reasons as well. One thing I've actually done against Sunny specifically.
Yep.
Was in Marincess, I didn't have enough gas to go into a Link 4. But I had enough gas to pump out an area and a rank 4.
Mm-hmm. Link 4. Or not
so I linked to an area, stole his only Moyi in his graveyard.
Oh right, yeah.
And then used it to make Kragan.
Right.
So you didn't get it back until you had a Kragan.
And a lot of people like running Hita, the fire charmer, the blazing or ablaze, which is the fire one, obviously.
Yeah.
And what they can do is you see this in Sky Striker a lot, and they'll summon Hita, steal an opponent's Ash Blossom, and then go up into a different Link 2 or into a Link 3.
Yeah.
For example, they can go into, if they have a way to go into Hita, then they can go Hita and Ash into Hauki Fibrax.
Yeah.
Hauki Fibrax, grab Effect Veiler.
And then make Selene revive Effect Veiler.
And then make access code. Yeah.
Selene.
Right. So the Charmers serve a specific niche set of uses.
In various different decks.
Right, exactly.
Like as long as you can put their attribute that is needed to make them on board, I think it's well worth the 1 slot to run them.
Right.
Another funny thing you can do that I can do with specifically with area in the mirror is if my opponent has like a Pascalis in the grave or something, or like another Branches, I can steal it and stick it under a Kragan and they can't get it back.
Yeah, the Charmers really do have a lot of really cool niche cases and uses.
Something else I can do is I can do that and then enter battle, crash the area, and then search for a water monster.
Right.
And search for literally any Marincess, because they're all under the maximum requirement for the search.
Right. All right. Next we have Mathmech or Exosister for the next format.
Mathmech.
I'll say Mathmech, but not as quickly as you are. I'm a little bit more hesitant.
My only issue my number one issue with Exosisters is that they kind of just die to Splight, but they're almost an auto win against Tearlament.
I don't think that they auto die to Sprite at all.
No, not quite auto die, but they have a rough time. But it's almost an auto win against a Tearlament, because
I think it's really got a very good matchup against both decks, if I'm being honest with you. The Sprite matchup's not as quite as good, but it's still very good.
Yeah, because like their whole shtick is I want you to activate graveyard effects, and as soon as you do, I'm just gonna start doing stuff, and you can't stop me.
Right.
Well, you can stop me, because two-tone negates plus a multi-negate Appaloosa.
Right.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So how many decks IRL? How many decks do you have?
I normally only have one, technically 2 decks. One of them is for a much older format.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. However, I currently own the cores to Dino, Shadal, Medulce,
BA.
Yeah, not just Burning Abyss. It's like the PK Burning Abyss.
Right.
Pile.
Right.
But I don't have adventure stuff.
Right.
And then I also have the 3 structure deck. I also got 3 of the Despy structure deck in my. I have a binder that's just cores. I have those in there too.
I got you.
And then I have Morenza's Bolt right now.
So I have, kind of like you said, a lot of the Despia core from the structure deck, if that counts. I have Sword Soul put together right now. I have a full Tri-Brigade core hanging out. I have deck cores, maybe like 6 or 8 deck cores for Edison format. Couple for Plant Synchro, couple for the 2014 Nationals format. So I have a lot of retro decks put together, but I don't really have side decks fleshed out for them and everything.
Which is fair. Yeah. That being said, I can build warriors for like Goat. I can build warriors and Chaos Warriors, but not Goat control. Because I don't have the fusions and I don't have Metamorphosis.
Right.
And then for Edison, and then for Goat, I actually have Pac-Man built. And then for Edison, I have Pac-Man.
Oh, what a terrible thought. All right, let's do a little bit of mailbag and then we'll wrap it up.
Woo!
What do you guys think is actually in the Mystic Mine? Is there actually gold in them hills? Or is the gold maximum? We need answers.
Okay. The gold is maximum, but there is no gold in them hills. All that is within the mine that is Mystic is just raw, unprocessed, grade A degeneracy.
True.
And the only thing that can mine it is a bunch of copium pickaxes.
True. Okay. Do you believe Sprite will be significantly less powerful in the TCG since Max C is banned?
It will be. I don't think it'll be. It will be less powerful, but not significantly. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be tier 0 like it almost was over in OCG land.
I honestly think that it will be at the top of the metagame, but not tier 0.
Yeah. I don't think it'll even approach it. It got close in over in the OCG. It got real close.
Sprite?
Yeah.
Sprite at one point had 97% representation.
Oof.
It was way past tier 0.
Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, Sprite, and then right after Sprite got hit, Tier Element did it.
Yeah. Because of the Shizu stuff
they've had 2 tier 0 formats in the last 6 months over there.
Yeah, it's crazy. And all they really did that I remember for hitting Sprite was hitting.
They banned Totally Awesome.
That's it. They just banned Toad.
Yeah. I think that this is going to make people also realize how crazy Swap Frog is.
Oh, yeah, no. Swap Frog is a ridiculous card. But
I could see Swap Frog getting limited, honestly.
There is actually one funny thing I can do with Toad now we're talking about Totally Awesome real quick in Morences, in that whenever it activates effect attribute to negate,
yeah,
I can then activate its graveyard effect to just add a Morences back to my hand.
Yeah, you could. All right, well, I know that today's episode is a good bit shorter, but if we're being honest here, I'm extremely tired.
Yeah, you're falling asleep over there.
Shush, you don't have to go that into detail. I may have been zoning out a little bit earlier in the episode before I got a cold compress on my head to wake myself up. But the point is, I'm here and I'm awake now, but I'm really tired from a long work week. I don't really have an end in sight. And as soon as I get off work Friday, we're leaving to go out of town to go to the Fort Worth Regional. We're gonna spend the night in Fort Worth Friday night and be at the regional all day Saturday, and then driving home Saturday.
Yep.
So it's just constant work week, right back into more Yu-Gi-Oh. So
Yep. And then probably right back into another rough work week.
yes, because I don't have a good one. They're all
With
rough.
1 day off.
Yes, this week was actually supposed to be my vacation week, but I'm working all the way through my vacation week for the sake of having more money for Niagara,
Fair.
because that extra paycheck's gonna be hot.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I am exhausted and I am tired, and I'm doing it all because I really enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh! And I really want to go see all my friends. By the way, if you're at the Fort Worth Regional, hit us up on Twitter. We're gonna post a picture on Twitter when we get there to kind of let everybody know what we look like and what we'll be wearing and stuff. So if you want to meet up at the Fort Worth Regional, let us know. We'll be there. We'll be hanging out, and we would love to sign play mats and cards and all that awesome stuff that people apparently want us to do for some reason.
It surprises me every single time it's happened.
Yeah, every time somebody walks up and like, "Oh, y'all are the Top Cut podcast guys, can you sign this card?" I'm like, "Absolutely, I don't mind at all. I don't think that I'm cool enough, but I don't mind at all.
I appreciate the thought.
I like that you think that we're cool enough."
Exactly.
So, of course, thank you all so much for listening to the podcast. We'll be back Tuesday with another episode, probably recapping regional and stuff like that. So if you're, like I said, if you enjoy the content, man, please be sure to go ahead and, check out our Patreon, use the affiliate links, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube, because we really need our numbers up, because I would love to stroke my ego. Be sure to check us all out everywhere that we are. We put a lot of love and effort into this podcast, and I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I really love this podcast. I love doing it. I love coming here into the studio late at night, recording and putting it out. And it's just a blast. I love the community that has sprung up around this podcast. I love all the friends that I've made all over the world. I really, really, truly am so thankful to have this in my life. I'd say that it's probably about the third best thing in my life, behind my wife and my son. So, they get 1 and 2, but it's close. It's not that close, but I love you all to death, and I'm happy to be here. So, have a great weekend, everybody.
Take care, everybody.